Hey, I'm Brian Gaskill, and I'm the next guest On Screen and Beyond.
On Screen and Beyond, an inside look into the entertainment world featuring interviews with people from the movie, TV, and music industry, news on upcoming TV and DVD releases, and the rumor mill. And now, here's the host of On Screen and Beyond, Brian Zemrak.
Thank you for joining me once again, or maybe for the first time, for another edition of On Screen and Beyond. This is episode 724 to be exact, and this is the show that keeps you updated on what's coming your way as far as upcoming new movies, remakes, sequels, and TV and movie DVD releases, as well as our interview segment with a guest from the movie, TV, or music industry. This week on Screen and Beyond, we have joining us a great guy. He's Brian Gaskill. Now, he has been on numerous soap operas, All My Children, and also Port Charles, and just so many others. So he's got a lot of knowledge about the soap world and all that stuff, but he also has a new movie out, and the movie is called A Reluctant Heart. It's coming out on February 4th. We're going to be talking to Brian coming up in just a few minutes right here on Screen and Beyond. But first, I want to remind you that subscribe to whatever podcast provider you are getting this from, whatever platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Amazon or Alexa or Podbeam, or if you're on Spotify, you can get the audio version like you can on those others. And you can also get a video version. Or if you are on YouTube, you can get the video. So a lot of places you can get On Screen and Beyond. Hope you are listening. Hope you go back and listen to all of our old episodes. Now, we have hundreds of episodes. We've been here for 18 years, and we've had all kinds of celebrities and music people here joining us at On Screen and Beyond. And you can go back and listen to every single one of them, whether you want to listen to or see, you can't see this one. Tim Matheson was, of course, on Animal House, and he was here back a few years back on Screen and Beyond. A great interview with him. He was on Johnny Quest and everything. He was the voice of Johnny Quest. Also, Peter Tork of the Monkees, and Burt Ward, Robin from the 60s TV show Batman, and Monty Hall, host of Let's Make a Deal. All kinds of people, including Mark Cuban of Shark Tank and so many others. So be sure to go back and listen or watch all of our episodes, okay? And the reason I say, watch, because we didn't do all the watching back, the videoing back in the day. But we all have, all kinds of people that I think you'd enjoy. So be sure to check it out. And if you have a suggestion for On Screen and Beyond, who, you might like to have a guest here, turn around and send it to me at feedback@onscreenandbeyond.com. I love hearing from you. And it helps me out because there's a lot of people that I can try to contact, and I don't think of them. So if you have a favorite person that you want to listen to or watch here at On Screen and Beyond, be sure to send me an email at feedback@onscreenandbeyond.com. Helps me out a lot. All right, what do you think? It's time to get into remakes, sequels, and prequels right here on Screen and Beyond.
Please hang up and try again.
Remake, sequels, and prequels. Stan Stevens is in talks to return to his role from Godzilla x Kong, and it'll be in the next installment of the film franchise. Another retelling of the epic poem The Odyssey is on its way, this time from Christopher Nolan. And Tyler Perry, he's keeping busy. He has another Madea film up his sleeve. This time it's for Netflix, and it will be called Medea's Destination Wedding. August 29th is the release date of the remake of The Toxic Avenger, starring Peter Dinklage as Toxie this time, and Matthew Lillard, who was in the first Scream movie, and he was killed, will return in Scream 7. You can look for him to return from the dead, maybe not, on February 27th, 2026. And that's it for remake, sequels, and prequels. Coming up next on Screen and Beyond, it's upcoming new movies. Upcoming new movies, February 28th. Jennifer Coolidge and Ed Harris will star in Riff Raff in theaters. Locked, starring Bill Skarsgård and Anthony Hopkins, arrives in theaters on March 21st in a horror thriller. And Charlize Theron and Taron Egerton will star in a new thriller for Netflix called Apex. And it's about a rock climber being hunted in the wild. That's it for upcoming new movies. Next on Screen and Beyond, movies and TV on DVD and streaming. Movies and TV on DVD and streaming. Well, on April 29th, Stripes with Bill Murray marches on to 4K Ultra HD Limited Edition Steelbook. Also on April 29th, Gandhi returns for a 4K Ultra HD Limited Edition Steelbook release. Shameless, the complete series, hits DVD on March 18th. April 15th, Dune Prophecy, the complete first season, lands on 4K Blu-ray and DVD. And Bewitched, the complete series, goes 4K on February 4th. And that is it for movies and TV on DVD and streaming. Coming up next on Screen and Beyond, it's TV and entertainment time. TV and entertainment time. The Sandman has season 2 coming soon on Netflix, but it will be the final season. It has been announced. There is no season 3. Netflix is looking to remake or re-image, as they're calling it, Little House on the Prairie. Why? But that's what they tell us. And the creators of Stranger Things is hyping the crap out of the upcoming 5th and final season, saying it's like 8 blockbuster movies. Okay, they get 8 shows in that season, and they say it's like 8 blockbuster movies. So they're really hyping this one up. No exact date yet on when it comes out, but rumors are it'll be later this year. And that's it for TV and entertainment time. Coming up next on Screen and Beyond, our guest is Brian Gaskill. He's been a staple on numerous soaps over the years, including Port Charles, The Bold and the Beautiful, All My Children, and so many others. His latest movie is A Reluctant Heart, and it comes out on February 4th. Brian Gaskill is next, right here on Screen and Beyond.
Hi, I'm Annette O'Toole. I am on Screen and Beyond.
Our guest today on Screen and Beyond has been on The Young and the Restless, The Bay, As the World Turns, The Bold and the Beautiful, Port Charles, All My Children, Models Inc., and so many others. His latest film is called A Reluctant Heart, and it's coming to digital and on demand on February 4th. It's Brian Gaskill. Brian, welcome to On Screen and Beyond.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
Now, Brian, you've been on more soap operas than Erica Kane has had husbands.
I don't know. Well, that's a funny joke, but I think she's been married. She was married like 10 times. So
yeah,
I'm not sure
that's
true.
But you've been on a lot of soaps.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way, the cookie crumbled, as so to speak. I mean, it's just I started off on Primetime, which was a soap, probably more soapy than anything I ever did on daytime. That was Aaron Spelling show, a spinoff of Melrose Place called Models Inc. And then from there, I went back to New York, and while I was producing an off Broadway play for some friends of mine who I graduated with, who weren't even getting an agent yet, and while I was there, I met with All My Children, and I just kind of liked being back in New York, and it just seemed like a good place to just chill out for a while and see what was up there. And I kind of grew up watching All My Children with my mother, so it was kind of surreal and weird, and kind of just once you're sort of accepted into that world, it was its own, one time huge, but just now it's almost like a cult thing, because the soaps have kind of died down some, but it's the audience is so passionate, and once you're accepted into that world, it's kind of like the jobs keep coming. Now they stopped at some point because the show started getting axed a little bit, but it's kind of leveled out now, and there's 4 or 5 left, and
Yeah. I noticed
Yeah.
that they've now started. There's a few that are coming back, I guess.
Well, there's four. Well, what's happening? I mean, everything's changed. The whole industry's changed. The way we have to look at it. For some of us, it gets frustrating sometimes, but things change with all the streaming and everything, and people on their phone and easily distracted. Before all that, you just had the remote control, and like if you're bored, you change the channel. But now it's like times 1,000, and but what's happening is once it got down to a certain point, the ratings sort of leveled out. And then recently, Days of Our Lives went off NBC, but it stayed on Peacock, and apparently is one of the most popular shows on Peacock.
Mhm.
And now for the first time since like 1999, a new daytime show is I, don't know, I mean I'm promoting it. I'm really happy for them, but I'm not on it.
You may.
Called Beyond the Gates, and
Yeah.
it's co-financed or produced just by the NAACP. It's a mostly black cast, and it's really exciting. Some of my friends are on it, and I'm really hoping the best for them. It looks really, the last trailer I saw looked like, oh, they're really pulling out all the stops. It looks fun. I have a feeling too that I mean, it looks like there's really good actors on there. And even though like sometimes the trailer is going to make it look all exciting and over the top. But I have a feeling there's going to be some like really just nice moments in there too. So it's not going to be totally like that. And I'm excited to see what it is. And so what I was going to say though, is because at first it was awkward because people weren't at home anymore during the day too. We all have to go out, we have to work, we're busy, we got everything on our phone, whatever. So it wasn't adjusting. Now with the streaming, you might be your main sort of showing is during the day, and maybe some people are going to check that out. But now instead of taping it, it's going to be on the new shows will be on Paramount Plus, and you can watch it later that day or tomorrow and
Right.
anytime in the middle of the night. And at first that seemed like, well, that's not the point. But now it's like we're all kind of used to that. We watch what we want to watch when we want to watch it, and that's just the way it is. And I could have philosophical arguments why I don't think that's great all the time, but that's just the way it is. So if it brings more work because people are able to produce things that if you find the audience can watch it whenever they want, then that can be a beautiful thing. And I'm really excited for them and whatever might happen afterwards of different types of productions that might happen once people realize it's not about daytime TV. It's just about like creating good stories.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned All My Children and your mother loving the show, and then you got into it and everything. It's basically the same thing happened with me. My mother just loved that show. She couldn't get enough of
With
it.
All My Children.
All My Children, yes.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
started the same. It was premiered the same month I was born,
Ah,
and it just kind of grew up with it. So there were times I was on the show, like some of the characters were new that I was a fan of from my teenage years, but like I had a few scenes with Susan Lucci, and just I've said this before, but my whole subtext watching her was like, what the hell am I doing here in Pine Valley with Erica Kane? Like it didn't make sense to me. It really, because most shows are just a few years. This show existed
okay.
my entire life. It would be like one time I got to go on the set of Sesame Street, not on air, unfortunately, but I was in the building and they let me go on the set to check it out, and just it was so good for my heart to be there. But that was like something I really grew up with, and in the same with All My Children, I really just grew up with it. So it wasn't like my favorite show in the world, but it was part of my living room. It was part of my family.
Yep, I know what you mean. Because then when I got married, my wife had always been liked it, and then so I'd have to
Yeah.
tape it. I'd have to tape it so she could see it after work and
Yeah. And you
everything.
just watch these people over like 30, 40 years. You just can't help but be connected to them somehow.
Yeah, and I eventually got to be friends with I don't know if you ever worked with him, Richard Van Vliet. He was Chuck Tyler.
No, I didn't
That
know.
was pre the time you were on, I
Okay.
believe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but anyways, that's it's just interesting how these soaps have developed and everything. And now I'd heard that they were going to possibly even be remaking a new version of Pine Valley.
They were working on a primetime series. I heard, and I'm disconnected from any of that, so I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not saying Bobby Warner would have shown up on it, and then it would then that mumbling sort of stopped, and then uh, and then I heard they might do like a Christmas movie or something that's like a reunion type of thing for
Really?
Lifetime television or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know nothing about it except for what I hear through the
Yeah.
rumor
Oh,
mill.
yeah. There's so many things out there.
But that would be interesting, even just a reunion type movie, just to give the fans a little peek into the world they haven't seen in years. And
Yeah.
so you just never know. I mean, this stuff comes back, it comes back, and years later, all of a sudden, and I'm just getting to that point where years later actually means something. Like I started on Models Inc. 31 years ago, and
Yeah.
and it's kind of like for a while it's it's a lot of hype, and then it dies, and then it's stupid. It's the stupidest show in the world, and then it's years later, and then all of a sudden you have these people who watched it when it was young, and they're like, oh, I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and you never know when stuff like that comes back. You're like, oh, okay. I
Yeah.
guess I was cooler than I thought I
Yeah.
was.
It's funny that you mentioned Models Inc. because last week I had, and I don't know if you worked with this person or not, one of the persons who were a director for that show,
Oh,
Parker Stevenson.
I don't
Did
know
you?
if I ever met him, but I do actually. Yeah, no,
I,
I
yeah, I
vaguely
wasn't.
remember, but I know because I only did. That's a long story, but I only did like the first like 12 episodes. It turned out, and but it was like that's when all the hype was going on. So some people don't realize I was actually gone after that. But I do vaguely remember Parker,
Yeah.
and I know yeah, I must because I otherwise I wouldn't have remembered him directing. So yeah, and another person I kind of grew up watching. So one time I did a guest star on Diagnosis Murder with Dick Van Dyke, and that was like another, those things, and they happen to a lot of, I met people at parties and stuff that was kind of like, oh, that's cool, like Sharon
Yeah.
Stone, and hung out with her for an evening, and you think it's really cool, but then to be on set with Dick Van Dyke when grow up with like Mary Poppins and stuff, you're like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
this
And
is
he's such a legend. I mean,
yeah, and still alive and still
yes.
dancing and still like just he's such an inspiration. His attitude when you see him talk, he's just like he just
Yeah.
seems like he would live forever.
Yeah. Well, Brian, your latest film
Yeah.
that's going to be coming out on February 4th, A Reluctant Heart. Why don't we start off here with you giving us an idea of what the show, or not show, but the movie is about,
Yeah.
and what your role in it is.
Well, it's not a show, but I kind of wish after I was done doing it, I wish I could play this character for like 5 years. I mean, I just really loved it. Um, Basically, this man who's sort of an artisan with stained glass in a small town. His wife died 12 years ago, and since then, he raised his daughter, and he's just been living kind of on his own, very hermit like. He used to be more social, but he's just been living, going quickly, getting takeout and eating at home alone. He has some friends, but he's not super social. And now his daughter is in her 20s and kind of like working with him, and a woman comes to town. She notices me noticing her, and it's like, well, maybe it's time for you to move on, and maybe this will be the woman for that.
He was
And I'm
pushing you.
I'm very, yeah, and my character is very against it, and is really just holding on to the pain. So hence the title, A Reluctant Heart, and it's just a very sort of naturalistic little, I mean, almost like a Hallmark kind of movie, but it's not produced by Hallmark, so it has a different vibe to it, and parts of it get a little more intense, and this is, it's not a heavy drama or anything. I would say it's a light drama slash rom-com slash dramedies, but it's in the end, without giving, I always find it funny when these kind of movies exist because it's not like you don't want to give anything away. You want, I mean, because the fact of the matter is, you want people to know this is a feel good movie, and you know, probably has this kind of sort of happy ending, and but you really go on the journey, the emotional journey with these characters, and you know, it's a simple, easy to swallow movie, but at the same time, I like to feel that there's definitely a strong emotional arc and a little journey that you really feel, hopefully, what these characters are going through. And I just didn't want it to stop. Like it was really, I've done little stuff here and there. I've produced some of my own stuff. I've had years of, you know, without getting into my same old sob story, I've had years of like the business stopping and struggling and all that. And this came along, playing a lead in a film of a script I really kind of connected to, and just could bring exactly what I wanted to bring at the time. I just turned 55 last week, so I guess I was like 52 at the time, and just to be like a real 52-year-old man, and to go through this emotional journey, and it was the first time since the show Port Charles, which, even though it was like, according to the ratings, wasn't the most popular show, but when we were doing the vampires and angels storylines and everything, all of us got stopped on the streets everywhere. So we felt like it was a very special sort of cult audience that was very passionate. Yeah. And they were so, but that character of that angel I played emotionally, and a lot of the fans know that for me, it was like the character that was like really kind of defined a lot of what I wanted. It wasn't perfect, but there was a lot of moments in it that felt like more connected to the kind of stories I wanted to be telling. And this was the first time in 20 years that I was doing something besides some short films that I wrote and produced, that I acted in myself. That besides that, this was the first time in 20 years that I was really like felt home and in a part, and felt like I could really just be honest and bring myself to it and bring my quirkiness, and not be told don't do that, because you know, you need to, you know, people on the outside sometimes would look at me through my career and be like, oh, you're like that typical all American boy, and we need you to be perfect. And I felt far from perfect, and I wanted to express that imperfection. When I worked for Aaron Spelling, they did not want quirkiness. They didn't want any of that. So this, you know, now I'm just kind of, I've had teachers in the past from my conservatory training days that said, you're not going to be taken seriously or really understood until you're a lot older. And and playing this part and getting where I am today, you know, I feel like a very late bloomer, and I'm finally getting to just be myself in a way that's acceptable. And so I don't know, that sounds stupid,
No.
because I'm not some major outsider, but sometimes you feel like an outsider on the inside. You know, you grow up as an artist and you feel different, and that's just, oh, my dog is coming to say hi. Do you want to be here?
Oh, it's a cute one.
Yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
Hi. Um, so anyway, so this movie was a chance for me. Go ahead, go. This movie was a chance for me to do that, to just to let, you know, I hadn't really done anything like this, and I was like, okay, I'm home, I'm back, and I just want to allow myself to just breathe in front of the camera and see how that works. If I can just be myself and be weird and quirky, and just, I mean, he's not to say it's an overly quirky character, but anyway, my heart was in it. My heart is in this film and in this performance, and I'm really excited about it getting out there.
And I agree with you, what you said. Uh, After the film was over, I wanted to know more of the story. You know, what brought you to this point? It
Right.
was, you know, what happened to the wife? You know, how
Right.
did
There's
that
all
all
that,
develop?
but then there's also like, really, this is like a 2 or 3 week time span, of this relationship that's just starting. It's not really like happily ever after. So
Right.
so like, and this is Valentine's. So what happens next Christmas, or what happens Thanksgiving, or does he still have cold feet? Is he backing out and running away,
Yep.
or is, what's going on? So I would, I mean, I guess having done series television so long, I psychologically sort of automatically jump to that of like, what's happening next? What's happening? I mean, in
Really?
some ways, like movies have been, I like television. I like watching television more lately than movies, because what happens with the movies, if I don't like it and don't connect, then I'm like, what did I do with the last 2 hours of my life? And if I do like it, I'm like, but what's going to happen next week?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's really frustrating. But some just sort of leave you with. I watched an old movie from the 30s last night called Midnight with Claudette Colbert, and you just turn it off. Then you're like, that was just right. I
Mhm.
feel good. So I hope people can get some of that from this. There's this kind of like more of an old movie sort of feeling,
Yep.
even though like it's the main love story going on. There's a little bit of an ensemble cast, and everyone just had fun with it, and I hope people watch it and just leave feeling a
Yeah.
little lifted afterwards.
Hey, this is Mark Cuban, and if you love TV, listen to Brian Zemrek and On Screen and Beyond. It's the ultimate television podcast.
I find as a person watching these movies and TV shows or whatever, um, when I can get into the character and I get angry, frustrated, with the character, it's like
Yeah,
when you were, being standoffish. It's like, what is wrong
right,
with you?
right, right. And a lot of that, like, thanks to the director, there's great writing, and thanks to the director Lana Reed, who gave me a lot of freedom. When I first read the script, it felt even more simple and more soft-spoken. But when I got on set and started performing, I started feeling more belligerence, and kind of bringing that sort of like more of a Jack Nicholson vibe to it, and like kind of as good as it gets kind of feel that
Yep.
like he's just got these skeletons in his closet, and it's going to cause him. So you're like, yeah, I've had a lot of friends who are like, oh my God, I was so frustrated with you watching this. And I'm like, good. That's like, I didn't want it to be totally easy. Like, I wanted to have fun with it, and like, a little banter, a little arguing, that like we kind of turned some of the scenes on their head and turned it
Mhm.
from a simple little quiet conversation to an argument without changing any of the lines really,
Yep.
and just had fun with it in a way that made it more of a struggle to get together,
Hmm. Yeah.
and to see that frustration and agony that's inside, that's causing this person to act out in weird ways that could like potentially screw up everything,
Hmm.
for
Yep.
me was more fun to play and to watch,
Yeah.
frankly. And thank you to Lana Reed, the director, for giving us the freedom to do that.
Yeah, yeah, you did a good job. Like you say, it drew you into the character. It's not there's no explosions or anything like that. It's
No,
just a heartfelt movie that you're drawn into the story,
yeah,
and
thank you.
you
Yeah,
did a nice job.
thank you.
Now, where was this filmed?
In Ohio,
In
outside
Ohio.
of
Okay.
outside of in a small town outside of Cincinnati,
Hmm. Yeah.
Middletown.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I didn't know, that when it was snowing, it's like, okay, now is this digital snow or is this real snow?
No, it
It
was
looked real.
real. It was real. There was even Christmas decorations still up in some places. I mean,
Yep.
we were shooting like the end of January, so it was almost Valentine's Day anyway. It kind of worked out time wise, but sometimes we were like trying to get rid of Christmas decorations because we don't want it to look like a Christmas movie because we're trying to do Valentine's Day. So
Yep. Yep.
but it was like, and it's funny because when I read it, it's you read a script and you pick it, and for some reason I pictured like snow, like just like being in Alaska or something. Like as I was reading it, I was picturing snow everywhere. And then once I got there, I realized like snow was a bad idea because you're not shooting it that fast, so you need it all to match. So unless you can put fake snow in there, and keep it that way all the time. You just don't want too much snow because it could melt tomorrow. And
Right.
we had a couple of those moments that and then you have to shoot around it, make sure you don't show too much because it doesn't match correctly. But then some of it was shot for a film was shot very quickly. So there were some scenes where snow was coming down that we were able to leave that in the cut, or they were able to leave it in the cut, and it says it gives it a nice. I was saying a couple of days ago that it sounds so stupid, but as an actor, one of the things I love most is being on location in the cold, because once you're outside in the cold and you're acting, I mean, you have to make up stuff all the time. You know, if you're doing Jurassic Park, you have to pretend there's a dinosaur there or whatever. When you're out there in the cold, you don't have to fake it. So it's such a relief. You're like, yes, we're cold. We can act cold. I don't have to pretend to be warm. I can, and it just adds a silly. It's silly, but it adds a little layer that you just feel like we're not even acting. This is so cool.
Yeah. Now the cast in here, you had Layla Cushman, Vernon Wells, and also Marta Kirsten. And actually, Vernon and Marta have been over the years, been doing this for 18 years, but they've actually both been on the show.
Okay,
here. I've had them on.
Yeah, legends.
Yeah, you had a nice cast on there.
Yeah, they were fun. The two of them were great. Me and Marta hit it off really well. I loved her sort of B storyline in the movie, and it felt like a movie in itself in a way. And the whole little arc she had was really beautiful. Yeah, and there was a whole arc to it. There was a whole arc to her little story, and I really appreciated it. And Vernon was fun to work with. Lots of stories, a grand life. I mean, I think he just lost his house in the LA fires, and I wonder if Marta did as well, because unless she moved, I thought they lived like right next door to each other. So
I when I talked to the publicist, she told me, because I had requested Marta for an interview to also, and they said that she was affected by the fire, so sadly, she couldn't do it. But
yeah, it was crazy what happened out there. So I wasn't there for it. I can't. It just looked like the end of the world was happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so sad, but it's hopefully things will get back to what they should be. But it's going to take years for these people.
No, for sure, it's a process.
Yep. Now, as far as acting, was this what you always wanted to do when you were a kid?
Yeah, I guess yeah. I mean, I was an artist. Like I liked to draw a lot when I was a kid. I was very much an introvert. The idea of like acting and being in scenes with people and stuff was probably scared the hell out of me. Frankly, it still does sometimes. So it wasn't the obvious pick, but I started to get. I just realized these things. Oh, anyway, I started to do it when I was about 13 or so, and just school plays and stuff. And I fell in love with it. I kind of got frustrated with the visual arts because I had these pictures in my head that I just couldn't get down on paper at the time. And I started to just get up on stage, and people were like, as you got older towards the end of high school, they're like, yeah, but what are you really going to do? And I'm like, this is what I do. It's what I went to a performing arts high school. It's like, this is my life already. I don't plan on changing it really anytime soon. And I had flirted. I didn't go to college right away. I flirted with the idea of being, studying directing for film. And I just ended up back to acting. And it was always a fight in a way. It was always a struggle. And it was a challenge that I wanted to overcome. And I kept pushing forward and got lucky, very lucky in the beginning to all of a sudden just be starring on a show out in Hollywood. And it was a bumpy, to say I was lucky, but it was a very bumpy road from that point on. But I still found a lot of success, and I'm very proud of my life and career. And sometimes when I'm like, oh my God, it's been such a mess. Like people remind me that most people don't even get anywhere close to what I had. And I'm like, yeah, I did pretty good. And I've been able to hold my life together. I didn't like get all crazy depressed and strung out on drugs and whatever. So So I still feel like it's, like I said, I kind of feel like a late bloomer, and take care of what I take well enough care of myself to think that, like, I just keep going. I think I was talking to other artists about it recently, different types of artists, and thinking that, like, our job, we have to pay our bills. We have to make a living. We have to do whatever we do to survive and try to take care of ourselves. But that doesn't mean you ever have to really give up on your dreams and what you want, and not in a way that maybe it'll never happen to its full extent again. I don't know, for me or for anybody else, but there's no reason to just throw it away completely. It's always there with you. It's part of who you are. So, and you just never know when all of a sudden you're like, I'm 55 now. What if when I'm 10 more years goes by, God forbid, and all of a sudden, I'm the 65-year-old man in a movie that actually, like, is a sleeper hit and takes off, and all of a sudden your whole career changes, and you're like, what? How did that happen? It happened because you stayed alive, you survived, you kept going, you took care of the responsibilities the best you could, and you didn't give up on that part of yourself without being, you know, if you can live with that without being heartbroken about it all the time to the point where it destroys you, I think you should continue to live with it, because it's really part of what makes you you. And just keep going until you're not here anymore. You keep going. There's no reason to say, I'm never going to think about that again.
Well, Brian, finish up with two quick questions here. We
sure.
have just a few minutes left here.
Okay.
But first off, of all the roles you've done, is there anyone that was your favorite, was so much fun to do? Besides this one, besides A Reluctant Heart?
Right. Well, I think I already said Port Charles was the big one.
Yeah.
And that was just because I was an angel. It connected to, I had done an angel in a short film before that I also liked, and it was just, I like magical realism. I like connecting to stuff that is supernatural, but also bringing heart to it. Which, It's a Wonderful Life is my favorite movie, and I like that balance, creating that balance and being part of that, because I don't feel necessarily normal all the time, and I don't, and like David Lynch, I think, who just passed away, he had some famous quote about, like, I don't know why people expect movies to make sense when they accept life doesn't make sense. And it doesn't, so to take the stuff that doesn't make sense and put it into a story that you can kind of start to at least try to make a little sense of it, have some of it be magical. And I think that can be a really beautiful thing. And I think a lot of people are like that. I love it. So that was a big thing for me. I mean, the soaps are funny because they're not always, like, you do them every day all year round. So I get why people in Hollywood make fun of them sometimes in movies. I just get tired of the fact that every time they're on screen in a movie, it's always a satire and they're always making fun of it, because there's all this in between, all that stuff that you can easily make fun of. There's all this really beautiful stuff that happens that people don't, only the real fans know about, the ones who watch it every day. So that was just a really special moment for me. Other than that, it was, I've written a lot, but I was able to get produced two short films that I wrote. One was called The Speech and one was called The Audition, and people can find them on YouTube. And that was really the dream for me, to take my own words and put them on screen. And that was really a dream come true, and allowed me to really truly, like, really show myself and be myself in a way that I try to bring to everything I do, and some people allow it and some people don't.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was the stuff I wrote. It was Port Charles, and it was this movie, and everything else. I guess if I thought about it really hard, maybe there was other stuff. I should have gone back and done more of All My Children. They invited me back after Port Charles was canceled, and I ended up staying in LA to do Bold and Beautiful at the time. I would have been really excited to play Bobby Warner again, and just bring something new to it. And, but really, I'm more excited about I live completely brokenhearted, as I discussed trying not to be, about like how frustrating it is trying to get a job and in the business and all that. But also, conversely, every other day living with hope that really the stuff that I'm going to love the most is yet to come. And
Mhm.
that's really what keeps me going.
Yeah. The final question, you've already answered half of it actually, because it's what's your favorite TV shows and what's your favorite movies? Ben, you said your favorite movie
Yeah.
was It's
Well,
a
my favorite
Wonderful
movie,
Life.
yeah, my favorite movie is it's it's a Wonderful Life, Wings of Desire, another angel thing.
Hmm.
Uh, Interstellar is a big one for me. Um, I fluctuate a lot. Um, I just lately I've been overwhelmed by everything going on in the world, and I just recently got the Criterion channel again to just tune into some get into some foreign films, some old foreign films, and I've always been into Jean-Luc Godard movies, and they really got me excited. But lately, I finally got into watching, which he can be kind of depressing. But I finally really got into Ingmar Bergman movies, and I really love them. As far as TV, God, the Newsroom is a really I love Aaron Sorkin's writing. It gets me excited when I just listen to it. I just like eat it like a meal. Um, and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Good show.
Um, yeah, I like anything that sort of combines the stuff I love most is stuff where I connect with the characters, I want to follow the story, and even if the show starts to suck 3 years in, I still want to know what's going to happen to these people. I was heavily into Once Upon a Time, and it was really brilliant for like the first 3 seasons, and then people are like, "Oh, then it fell off," and then by the end it was horrible. But I was still passionately in it all the way to the end because I still liked it and I still wanted to see what was happening with the characters. And it's like family. In a way, that's what daytime TV was like. It was like,
Yes.
even when it wasn't perfect, the metaphor is like, it is like family. It's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You have to love them. And when I watch TV, I look for stuff that I really just want to hang out with these people.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a plot that I think is exciting. I'm looking for people that I want to hang out with. So there's a lot of that, and honestly, like it's kind of I don't know if it's a weird little quirk of mine. Like I can't remember them all now, but often I make like top 10 lists, and it's just I use it as like a barometer, and quite often there'll be repeats from like 6 months ago, but sometimes it'll switch around, and I kind of use it as a barometer for like, oh, where am I now? What's important to me now? And that's what movies are a lot. It's like when you cry in a movie, it's not just because it's sad. It might not be sad. It might be really happy, but it's because something in it is important to you.
I want to thank you. I want everybody to go out and see A Reluctant Heart, February 4th. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And a big shout out going out to Brian Gaskill for joining us here at On Screen and Beyond and taking the time to let us in on his latest release, a new film called A Reluctant Heart. I think you'll enjoy that one on February 4th on streaming and on demand. And also, like you said, Brian has been in so many soap operas, and it's just been a joy to see him on screen once again. And we'll keep checking him out. And if you are on YouTube, you can now catch us once again. We are there with more episodes. I keep putting more and more of our older episodes that we videoed over time. They're all up there. No, not all up there, but they're getting there. I'm slowly putting them up. We've got about six out of what? Over 700. So it's going to be a while, but I can't put them all up because they're just audio. And I could turn around and make, some type of video that goes along with it, but it's not the actual person. So we probably won't be doing that. If you want to catch any of the other episodes that you can take with you wherever you are, whether you're driving in the car or working out or working at work, whatever, You can get our audio podcasts anywhere, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just anywhere. So they're all over the place on all podcast platforms. So be sure to check those out, but keep looking at YouTube because we are putting more and more up there. Of course, you can get our latest video versions also on Spotify. Okay. So just keep checking those out. And, you can even say, Alexa, play On Screen and Beyond podcast, and it'll pop up. So all kinds of places that you can get it. Please subscribe. That helps us out. It gets more and more people to know about it through their algorithms on each of these podcast providers and everything. And the more people hear about On Screen and Beyond, we can keep bringing you more and more great guests. We have another guest coming next week, and I hope you'll be listening. That's it. That's a wrap for this episode of On Screen and Beyond. So until next time, when we once again take you on screen and beyond, I'm Brian Zemrak. Take care.